Now, here is a topic that I think it's always debatable. Who's in the top 5 of quarterbacks all time? I think Patrick Mahomes is at 4 right now. If he moves up and wins this game, do you put him at 3? Do you put him at 3? Now, here's my list. Here's my list, just so we have some context to this. I got Montana, Brady, Manning, Mahomes, Elway. I hate leaving off Marino because Marino was so good, but at some point you got to win something. You got to win something. So I guess the question is do you guys have Mahomes in your top 5 already? I know a lot of people say, oh, he's got to do more. He's got to play more. I think if 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, I mean, I get that you got to have longevity if you're trying to be the best ever. Longevity is a real thing. I don't know why people bash longevity. Longevity is a real thing. Being able to do it for a long time means something. But also being able to accomplish a lot very quickly, that has to mean something too. But I guess the question, and this is how I always like to frame it, if Mahomes stopped playing after this Super Bowl, if he didn't play football anymore, where do you have him? I think that's how you always have to look at a all-time best debate, is if they didn't play another second of football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, where do you have them? And for me, I have them 4th right now. It's going to be tough for me to move him ahead of Manning, but if he goes out and he wins this Super Bowl and he dominates the game and they win a Super Bowl, I'm going to put him ahead of Peyton Manning. And I know what people are going to say. He doesn't have near the all-time stats of Manning. He doesn't. But the one thing that we always used to say about Peyton Manning was he couldn't get it done in the playoffs. I think people forget that. We used to kill Peyton Manning just like people are killing Josh Allen, just like people are killing Lamar Jackson. We used to destroy Peyton Manning for not being able to get it done in the playoffs. And it was deserved. You know, nobody's saying that he didn't deserve it. But we used to do it. And if somebody is able to get it done, we have to uplift that person, give them the credit that they deserve. So, and somebody over on TikTok brought up Dak Prescott. Hey, my man, I'm sorry, but we're talking about the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Dak Prescott doesn't even need to be brought up in that conversation at all. At all. And I know what you're saying. You're getting at, well, we killed Dak Prescott for not getting it done in the playoffs, but we're past just that. We're at an elite level of quarterbacks all time. So, we're not bringing up Dak. Dan Marino. I got Dan Marino at 6. So, look, Dan Marino didn't win anything, but if Dan Marino was playing right now, with the rules the way that they are, Dan Marino might throw for 6,500 yards a season. That's how quick his release was, how strong his arm was, how accurate of a thrower he was. He might throw for 6,500 yards a year. People don't give Dan Marino credit because he didn't win anything, which is why I have him lower on the tier. But don't kid yourself. As far as quarterback talent, I don't know how many people were better than him. So, I don't know how many people are better than him. But that's just me. My man Gwendo, I agree. If he wins this one with his talent, he's number 3 or 4. Has to be. My man Pete Cockrell, his list is Joe Montana, Brady, Peyton Manning, Mahomes, Dan Marino. He got the same list that I got in the same order, except I have Elway over Marino. A lot of people discredit John Elway and talk about his throwing percentage, That was back in the day, man. They were throwing the ball 25 yards down the field every pass. They weren't doing check downs to receivers. They weren't doing quick slants. If they dropped back, they were taking 7-step drops and they were letting that thing go. So your percentage ain't going to be high when that's what you're doing. Elway was that guy. So my man Matt Hasselbring over on YouTube says, Mahomes moves past Manning with the Super Bowl win Sunday. What do you think about Breeze in the top 6 or 7? I think Breeze can be in the top 10. I think Breeze can be in the top 10. It did a lot of throwing to get the stats that he got. I mean, but you can't knock what he did. You just can't. But I don't know when it comes down to it, was he better than those other guys? Like, he's not better than Marino. He's not better than Elway. He's not better than Steve Young. You know, would anybody think that Drew Brees is better than Steve Young? I don't think so. Steve Young didn't do it as long because, number one, he went to the USFL first. Then he went to Tampa Bay. Then he played behind Joe Montana. But once he got his opportunity, the man wrecked shop. So, and we'll start talking about this a little bit more as time goes on. I love these kinds of debates. As long as people don't get silly and disrespectful, I love these kinds of debates. It's just like a lot of people, most people, I would say, have Brady as the GOAT over Montana. I just can't do it, man. I can't do it. And here's the reason why. For the same argument that people talk about Michael Jordan being better than LeBron James, I try to stay consistent with that. If that's the argument that everybody brings up, and it is, he got 6 rings. He went to the final 6 times and he never lost. Joe Montana went to the Super Bowl 4 times and he never lost. He threw 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. Until somebody does that, not to mention all the other stats and other things that Montana has, it's going to be tough for me to put somebody ahead of that. Tom Brady included. Even though Tom Brady has 7 rings, he didn't do what Joe Montana did in the Super Bowl. No. So, and that's right. It's not like, no, Joe Montana has 4 rings, brother, not 3. He's got 4. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But I like the debate. And it ain't like Tom Brady's some slouch either. It ain't like we're trying to put some, and it ain't like either one of them are. It's not like he's some slouch. So, where do I have Drew Brees? I don't. Drew Brees is down at the bottom of my top 10 if he's in it at all. I'll be honest. I'm not that big of a Brees guy. I saw what they did. I saw what their offense was. It was a lot of dink and dunk passes. But you can't, again, he completed the passes. He was pretty accurate for a little guy. I mean, Drew Brees is a little guy. So, but I just don't think he's as talented. Like, he's not as talented as Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, I have ahead of him for sure. So, for sure he is. So, somebody also said Jordan has Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, but LeBron should have won Defensive Player of the Year over but over Marc Gasol. The media didn't vote him for it. Hell, they voted Marc Gasol second team